on an island paradise in the Bahamas, an inspirational builder.
I became an artist in the process of swimming with the wild dolphins. I was so inspired, I wanted to do something for the dolphin.
A life's passion.
I'm a very lonesome because mostly what I'm doing is really unappreciative.
Welcome to the Dolphin House. Bimini, a small archipelago located in the northern Bahamas, is an enclave just as beautiful as it is enchanting. An island of pirates and rum smugglers, home to Ernest Hemingway and breathtaking resorts. Bimini is also the site of a priceless treasure, the Dolphin House.
My name is Ashley Sanders. I'm the poet historian and the builder of the Dolphin House here in Bimini. A place that I've been working on for the last 21 years is all built from recycled salvage material, and it's all tiled on the exterior with mosaics and colorful tiles. This street here where the Dolphin House is located is called Sanders Street, and we've been on this street for 200 years. My mother was born in the yellow house over there to my right. My brother lives over there, and everybody lives on this road. Here are all Sanders. We are all one family.
To visit the site, simply knock on Ashley's door or rent one of the 2 rooms available to tourists.
We're from Miami, Florida, and today's his birthday, so this was his birthday surprise. We took a cruise boat to the island, and we were just exploring. We both really like history, and we like things that have to do with community development and things that have to do a lot with people and social interactions and how things work.
Yeah. It's pretty nice, huh? You get to discover, like...
A dolphin house.
Yeah, it's nice. It's amazing how, like, the guy actually built it...
Himself.
I would describe the Dolphin House as something that will grasp you by surprise. It's something that no one can actually sit down and explain because, in my opinion, there is no manuscript that can be written to explain how it looks.
Is that a German? Willkommen?
In 1993, Ashley Saunders began decorating his house with shells, pieces of glass polished by the sea, and bamboo driftwood. In short, Ashley used what the ocean would give him.
You would not believe that someone had done a house, because nobody can imagine anyone would ever do a house like that. Every area is taken. From the underneath the staircase to underneath the ceiling, he has everything tiled right out.
It's actually pretty big, because they have like a little living area. They have
This is so cool.
Yeah. And they're all from, like, United States. Actually, no, there's one in Quebec right there.
Yeah, Bahamas.
Massachusetts right there, that's mine.
Oh, yeah.
And he apparently likes National Geographic.
Wowzers.
Well, you know, he said he's like a writer.
Nobel Prize books.
Thank God I don't have
So he's just a collector. He has input.
For Ashley, the creation of his house is in an effort to preserve the memory of the island. Each object has its own story. And it's in the smallest details that you really appreciate the beauty of his creation.
If you look at the design, you have like bottles, you have different types of rocks, you have limestone.
Shells.
And I don't know how he got it all to like perfectly stick, because if it was like they're all symmetrical or they're all like squares or they're all circling, but they're not. So that's impressive.
There's actually no way you can describe it in a sense, because you got to see the conch shells and you have to see the other artwork, I would say. the stained glass and the broken glass from the ocean and the shells and the stuff that was drifting in the ocean. You know, there's a lot of drift stuff.
But everything took years for him because he was doing it from what he find. Anything he find, he used it. What he think was strong, he used it.
I like the mirror. You notice? It's just cut. This is a nice bedroom.
I would have to say the house is unusual. It's I think it's lovely. It has a lot of different colors to it, a lot of different ceramic tiles. Someone who's never seen it before, I'll just have to say it's an amazing place to visit. You have to come and see it for yourself.
See, that looks like a boy's bedroom, and then this one looks like more...
You just said that because of flowers.
Yeah, it looks brighter and like pinker, whatever.
But do you notice he always has this on the top? Like the branches. They were downstairs too. You know,
It would make sense because there's a lot of trees outside. So if you wanted to preserve like the natural habitat and like not mess up all of like the natural things in it and kill all the...
Or even to keep it, when you're building like that, you know, you usually build like cement, whatever, and then they keep the stuff to keep like the
build
foundation.
around it, yeah. He's doing all these great things that I think enhance just the history of the island, of the natural people, of, you know, the inhabitants of here, and getting to know a little bit more about the culture.
In the language of the Lucayans, native to the Bahamas, Bimini means two islands. There is North Bimini and South Bimini. In the shape of a hook, North Bimini is so narrow that in some places, the ocean is visible from both sides of the narrow main road. The capital is Alistown, with just 500 residents.
Bimini is known as the fishing capital of the world, so a great number of persons would come in their yachts all the way from Florida, and their aim is to catch the big game fish here. Quite a number of them also come to learn about the history of Bimini. There is the Ansel Boat Yard. They come to speak with Ansel, who is a great historian. He can tell the story of the late Dr. Martin Luther King and how he came here to write his speech for the Nobel Peace Prize. And also persons come to take part in the diving and enjoy the beautiful beaches we have here on the island.
But one treasure of the island is undoubtedly the Dolphin House.
You go down the Queens Highway, and just before you get to the Blue Water Marina, you make a right turn, and you turn up Sanders Street. You'll see a sign posted at the bottom of the hill. It says Dolphin House.
Ashley was born into a family of fishermen and boat builders, passing their trades down from father to son.
Ashley, as a person, was a very quiet person, and he's very respectful to his parents, but he was just a lovable person. Ashley was a very lovable person.
But fate was to decide otherwise for Ashley Saunders.
In my youth, I studied at the Bimini All-Age School. Then one day, my teacher came home to my mother and said, don't let this boy be a fisherman, which most of the little boys were doing. He has some academics in him. And she listened to him, and she practically, you could say, locked me away in a room and made me study all the homework and all the works that I had in school. And she encouraged me also to buy a book.
His room was the only room that he had encyclopedia. And so when you had a homework to do, you would go into his room because he had all the knowledge in there that you could do it.
His educational opportunities limited in Bimini, Ashley flew to the United States to pursue his schooling.
I decided to come back to Bimini after graduating from Wisconsin to help the less fortunate ones that didn't have an opportunity to get a college education, a high school education, really. So I thought I'd make a bigger contribution if I'd come back home and help my own people first. So I put my people here as a priority, and I became a teacher here and I taught here for 30 years.
He was very fond of the children were fond of him. He wanted his kids to learn, and they got along very well.
In 1993, a chance encounter changed Ashley's life forever.
Dr. Horace Dobbs, who is an English scientist, came to visit the school. He had written several books on an animated dolphin called Dilo the Dolphin, and he wanted to introduce these Dilo books to the English class. And he asked me if it would be okay for me to include his books, Dilo the Dolphin, in the curriculum. He explained to me that Dilo the Dolphin would help accelerate learning in children because the books were very fun and animated and easy to read.
Dr. Hobbs encouraged Ashley to go swimming with dolphins, an encounter that would prove inspirational.
While swimming with the wild dolphins, something in me that was asleep suddenly awoke when I made contact with these dolphins. It seemed as if I were communicating with them on that sonar wavelength, and they were saying to me, "Where have you been, Mr. Sanders, all this while? So we are your family, and it's so nice to see you. Come play with us." And it seemed like I was reborn in the process. It changed my life. When I got back to Bimini, I saw the world differently, from an artistic point of view especially. I'm not a trained artist, but I became an artist in the process of swimming with the wild dolphins. I was so inspired. I wanted to do something for the dolphin.
Thus was born the idea of Dolphin House, a monument to those beautiful creatures of the sea.
At the time that he built it, he didn't have all the decoration on it as he has now. People were interested in it. They wanted to see what exactly he was doing, because every time you passed the house, Ashley was working on the house. He was doing something on the house.
So I started to draw dolphins and make coral dolphins on the outside of the wall, and also limestone dolphins. I made over 40 dolphins so far throughout the building, on the interior and exterior, and in every room. Downstairs and upstairs have dolphins in it, one or more dolphins. I was mocked at and thrown a lot of jeers at from people that didn't think I was capable of building a 2-story house by myself.
Our father was a carpenter, one of the best carpenters in the Bahamas, the best in Bimini for sure. And he would help him take his toolbox around from different jobs.
He had to know the nails, he had to know the wood. He had pass me this, pass me that. So he had to know everything. In fact, he still have a couple of the old tools that he used, well, mostly hand tools.
So I'm not only skilled in building, but I'm also skilled as a writer, a teacher, a philosopher, a poet, a historian. And many people call me a Renaissance man.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
Ashley Saunders has many talents. He's a builder, artist, teacher, amateur historian, author, and poet in his spare time. But these passions have consumed him at the expense of his personal life.
I've never really had a strong relationship with a wife, simply because I was involved in so many important projects.
In order to be the best, you have to sacrifice something. And I suppose that's what he had to do in order to accomplish what he has already.
I never really lived with a wife for too long, because it was frustrating, I think, for the wives to want to live with me when I was just so involved in all these other different subject matters.
I think sometimes they feel as if he was going crazy and they couldn't deal with it anymore because he was only into building and only into doing these things and on the beach looking for things. And the marriage wouldn't be good because his attention was to art.
But the price he paid for juggling his many passions was steep.
You know, life is funny. If you do things that is what you would call futuristic, and people are not ready for it, they have a tendency to call you crazy. In other words, no one on this island has ever written a book before. So if you are the first one to write a book on an island where most people can't even read, then most of those people will tend to look at you as being odd or a lot crazy.
Ashley Saunders is the first Biminite to receive a university degree. While working on the Dolphin House, he undertook another titanic task, writing his first book, consisting of poems and a history of the archipelago.
You want to share your knowledge with your fellow men because you have this intellectual accumulation of knowledge. It ain't no good to you to just hold this information in, so you want to share it with someone. And the people around you to share it with, they are not really ready for this. So if you sit down and talk to an islander about the concept of infinity, you gotta be out of your mind.
People thought he was crazy because he started writing those poetry books. So right then he started, and they said, well, you got to send him up to the hill because he ain't got no sense. Look at these books he writing. Anybody can write no book. He can't write no book.
And in the process, been sent off to hospital, mental hospital, to get examined. I was hospitalized with something that didn't even exist. The first time I went, it was about 2 or 3 weeks. The next time I went for about a month or 2. Short periods, you know, nothing lengthy, because there was nothing wrong.
When he came back, he decided to still write more books.
After his internment, Ashley Saunders pursued his writing work at all costs.
I wrote 4 volumes of poetry. I don't think a native has ever read one of them. I've written 3 volumes of history book. I had to do field work because there was no reference book. I had to go look in cemeteries and get grave markers off gravestones. I had to travel to England and get information from the British Museum. I did over 100 interviews with the old settlers of Bimini. And this is how I was able to piece together the history of Bimini, and that took 20 years. And I don't know if it was a native that read one of them fully. I'm a very lonesome because mostly what I'm doing is really unappreciative. And so I built the Dolphin House. I spent 21 years actually building the Dolphin House. And in the 21 years, you know, you can count the natives that been in here on 1 or 2 hands. So I take 20 years to write the history of Bimini in 3 volumes, and 21 years to build the Dolphin House. And in the 41 years for those 2 particular achievements, I've yet to be appreciated. So I got to keep my sanity and not get depressed about that and go on with what I have to do, which is building the 3rd floor. And I know a lot of people call that crazy too, because here it is, they call me crazy for building 2, you know, they call me to building crazy again for building 3.
On the tiny island of North Bimini, while tourists stroll, goats roam freely, and children amuse themselves, Ashley Saunders searches the sand looking for artifacts to complete his masterpiece, the Dolphin House.
I find the recycled material by going to new construction site, also the beach. The bulk of it is coral rock, and then a lot of limestone rock too. Broken tiles, broken dishes, cups, mugs, jugs, beer bottles, rum bottles, beer cans, and just a whole bunch of general junk. The best way to find shells on the beach is just below the high water mark. Look like tide's going out right now, so this is a good time to look for shells. It's a nice piece of coral. I could put that on the wall. It's all rounded and flattened out. I think I could use it. I'm also looking for shells that I can make earrings on jewelry too. Like this shell here can make a good earring. I found something here that's very unusual too. Look like the bottom of some bottle. It's got some writing on it. And this will make a good necklace. If I cap it and hang it like this. I'll show you what I found here so far is a piece of metal. Look like a piece of maybe aluminum that's been melted. This could be from a ship that caught fire or even a satellite that caught fire in the atmosphere and fell to the earth and burned on the way down. You know, I'm finding not only beach glass and seashells and coral, even a sea bean I found. This could have washed in from Bimini for as far away as Africa, or maybe the Amazon. All of these are treasures that I'm picking up, and I'm hoping that others will catch on to this. One of the reasons why you see the beach so healthy and look and clean right now, except for the seaweed, is because all the recycling what I've been doing over the years.
Once he's done on the beach, Ashley repeats his search in the courtyard of the Dolphin House. His objective? To find reusable material for the construction of the walls on the next floor of his unusual home.
I can't afford to buy gravel, but I have a lot of leftover tiles, so why don't I use these? So this is what my idea of saving money and recycling broken tiles.
On a limited budget and without the aid of sophisticated tools, Ashley must be resourceful.
This whole thing has to be thought of in advance and engineered perfectly. If I got the sand up here, I got the rocks here, and then the barrels here. To mix the concrete, I need water. So I cut the top off of these old diesel drums. So this is all my way of engineering, you know, rather than going downstairs and mixing everything down there and bucketing it up.
After a long day of hard work, Ashley and his brother replenished themselves at a special place to pay tribute to an idol.
This area here is the Bonefish Creek, the Holy Grounds. I call this the Holy Grounds because this is where Dr. King wrote his last speech. Days before he died, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We have a platform up there, and the back of the platform is Dr. King bust made from fiberglass, so it won't rust or nothing out there.
It was on the island of North Bimini that Martin Luther King wrote his acceptance speech for the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. And Ansel Saunders had the honor of hosting this illustrious American on board his boat to show him the island's charms.
So I landed him right over there in the mangroves. He looked up and he said, there's so much life here, so much life all around us. He said, how could people see all this life and yet not believe in the existence of God? So I said, I wrote a psalm, P-S-A-L-M. He said, he'd like to hear it. I said, Dr. King, people want to hear you speak. You know that, you're the spokesman. He So I'm tired of listening to myself. I won't hear somebody else sometimes. So I say it's very long. But it allows you to see God in a different light. And it goes, just look around you and see God in everything. His name of love is written on every tiny raindrop. His name of wonder crowns the mountain peak and swirls across the seas. For who else but God? I am that I am. Only God can pierce the skies with stars. Millions and billions and trillions of stars. Look around you, touch your brother, kiss your sister, and then behold, you must behold the wonderful works of God. When I got through that psalm, Dr. King, with tears rolling down his cheeks, he said, Ansel, you made me feel so close to heaven. I feel as though I could almost reach out and touch the face of God, and touch the face of God. And 3 or 4 days later, he was touching the face of God. And he said, everybody needs to hear that psalm at least one time in your lifetime. So I thought I'd share it with you all.
Amen. Hallelujah.
The ecological footprint of Dolphin House is tiny. In the Ashley Saunders universe, everything is recyclable, and it's the sea that provides the raw material.
A very important ingredient for me is the conch shell. It's a good, strong building material, and the same ingredient that the conch shell is made from, calcium carbonate, is the same ingredient in Portland cement.
And the Dolphin House is certainly solid. It even survived the terrible Hurricane Sandy in 2012.
I've been using the Holy Bible as my guide in the construction. A wise man built his house upon a rock, and the winds blew and the floods came and beat upon that house, and the house fell not because it was built upon a rock. The building is actually sitting on an artificial bedrock that I made, and it is, as the Bible says, it is built on the solid rock. I believe that I might have surpassed the building code, because all the inspectors and engineers that been here, they have nothing to say. Let me take you up to the rooftop now and show you what I did up there.
On the roof, we see the beginnings of what will become the next floor and the Dolphin House observation post.
This is my latest project. There will be a staircase coming up, going up to the rooftop. I make the rooftop flat so we can actually put another story on top of this one. Eventually we'll put a lighthouse, a pinnacle up there, which will be a lighthouse with a light on it, because North Bimini doesn't have a lighthouse. We have a lot of lighthouses out to sea and buoys, but no lighthouse on the island. So we'll put a lighthouse on top, and then we'll be completed.
Inside, the work is completed, and the artist is particularly proud of the result.
This is the interior of the Dolphin House. This is my showroom. Over here to my left is my big mural, I call it. It's 18 feet long, and I've been on this for 2 years. Actually, it's just broken stained glass pieces from North Carolina. There are paintings, there are coins, there are drawings. I had a lady up here one time from Germany, and she painted this right on the wall, and I wiped around it with the tiles. If you notice up here too, you'll see brain coral, wine bottles, Coca-Cola bottles, beer bottles, sea buoys, and then of course driftwood. And God knows where all this driftwood might be from. I guess it's some from Cuba, could have floated there from Mexico or Jamaica. Whenever someone comes to the Dolphin House and I ask them where they're from, they say, oh, I'm from so-and-so. I say, well, would you be kind enough to send me a license plate from your particular country or state? And this is how I accumulated the license plates over the years. This is one of my favorite pieces right here. This is an old mirror frame I found in a dump, and the mirror was no good, but I salvaged the frame, and in place of the frame, 3 stained glass dolphins. And I always like to wake in trees, mostly because, for Trinity. I call it Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. And the fantastic thing about all of this is these hands just touch every stone, every pebble, every bottle, every piece of driftwood, every tile that you see here. It's these hands just touch. Over here we see, I call it my junk section, because these are the coral that's been rejected by the beachcomber. If you notice, these are weather beaten. The average beachcomber will refuse to pick them up, but yet they tell a story as far as I'm concerned. Sea buoys, I've been collecting these. This is a glass buoy right here. This was probably made from Japan, floated on the beach. Fortunate to get it. Over here behind me is a whole bunch of conch shells. There's no telling how many conch shells I use in the Dolphin House. I would say thousands. Someone on a passing ship brought this clock, and they said the clock didn't wake anymore. Instead of throwing it away, they figured that, well, they'll bring it to the Dolphin House and I'll find some use for it. So I stuck it in the wall there. I think I got about 8, maybe 9 mermaids in there. There's one here, one over there, one there. This one's holding Bimini in our hands, Bimini, Bahamas. And here's an interesting piece over here. Here's a baby dolphin made out of play marbles with a rearview mirror from a motorbike. I found this particular mirror in the street. And on this wall here, the broken shells from Hurricane Sandy is on this wall here. They all tell a story, so I picked broken shells too. And over here we have a ship in a bottle. Right behind us over here is the recycle mirror that had cracks in it and bad spots, and I patched it with these coins, these nickels and pennies, and made a palm tree in the process. The Dolphin House is the longest project that ever been undertaken on Bimini. No other building has been building for 21 years. It's a one-of-a-kind place that cannot be duplicated. Where are you going to find the same material? I mean, it's impossible to duplicate it. That's the great thing about it.
Even today, Ashley Saunders feels alone on his island. He has little contact with the 2,000 residents of North Bimini.
I would say it's changing, but slowly. You know, I still don't have intellectual rapport with the local people, and usually it's just a small talk. But the philosophical part, my experience with swimming at the Dolphin has not really been shared with them because they've kept a distance, you could say.
But his family appreciates his dedication.
I think he made a great mark on Bimini because right now we've got a ship coming in here from Florida, and there aren't too many things to see on the island. This is about the #1 attraction is the Dolphin House, something that he did with his own hands.
Ashley has put a lot of work into it. I'm amazed every time I pass by there, because every time I go there, I used to see something new, which was very interesting. Ashley has put a lot of hard work into that building, a lot of hard work. So I'm pleased with it.
It's just the art of loving what he's doing, and it just makes him want to do more. And then the heart of people, because when people say they like it, he just do more for the happiness of someone, just to make someone happy. Just that someone to say is nice, and he just, that alone is good for him, because then he do more and he do more.
I think the Dolphin House is a stroke of genius. And I often ask the proprietor, how did you come about with such a great creation? And his response is that it's an inspiration. It's something that comes from within. But I feel as though he's a very gifted individual, and I'm hoping that he is able to create more attractions like that on the island. He was able to create one of what I consider the great wonders of the world.
Moreover, Ashley Saunders is the memory of the island. His house is a treasure chest containing a history of Bimini. A part of the Dolphin House is even a dedicated museum.
Welcome to the Dolphin House Mini Museum. These are artifacts that I've collected over the years, and I've been collecting artifacts now for, I'd say, close to 30 years. The main focus is the Bahamian local artifacts of Bimini. This here is, and of course some of the little animals, this is a Bimini boa snake, only found in Bimini. It's interesting to know that Bimini has a snake not found anyplace else on earth, called the Bimini boa. Back here is the Bimini cotton, grows right here in Bimini, been growing here for generations, and this was a major thing they grew in the Bahamas on the plantations in the slave days. But a lot of stuff is washed ashore here, which I collect, that come from other countries. This is a ship's coal. In the old days, steam ship, buying coal for fuel. They didn't have gasoline or fuel back then, or diesel. Apparently, one of the steamship wrecked in the Bimini area because this washed ashore. So that tells us that there's a steamship wreck out here in Bimini waters. This is a piece of pumice. This pumice is most likely blown out of a volcano, apparently from either Nicaragua or else Hawaii or Mexico, and floated to Bimini. This was made probably, I don't know where, maybe the South Pacific. And you can see the head of an Indian here. And it's teak wood. We don't grow teak here. It looks to be South Pacific. This is the Bimini jail key 100 years ago. We got locked up, I would have been able to let you out 100 years ago. These are skeleton keys. The jail still exists down the street there in Bimini. It's now a museum, but nevertheless, these were the keys. It's a very nice artifact to hold. One of the reasons why this is important in preserving these particular artifacts here in Bimini is the fact that the people of Bimini themselves can see how we made a living or how we lived in times gone by. For instance, in this particular artifacts, we see a boat that is no more. I mean, my uncle made this boat, and he made a living from making shell boat like this, so we'll never see this again, because nobody on the island makes shell boats anymore. Also, it gives visitors an opportunity to come in. They can touch these artifacts and get a feel for that particular era, and in a sense, relive what had happened 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 years ago. This would be the most, I would say, interesting museum in terms of what we have to offer and display than any other museum in these Bahama Islands.
In North Bimini, the Dolphin House has become a staple of the tour, and its controversial creator has earned the respect of his peers.
I think Ashley Saunders has left a mark that all Biminites will always look up to him and respect him as being a person who was able to assist them in taking their message to the world. He represents them well within the community, and I'm quite sure that if Ashley were to pass on, there will be a great memorial in his honor, and persons will speak about him for many years to come. I'm quite sure he's someone I will never forget having visited Bimini.
I think people will remember him for being an intelligent, a very smart person, a very helpful person.
When I come over and I stayed at a Dolphin House, I feel like I'm in the middle of the ocean, but there's air. It's just so peaceful, the peaceful feeling. I never knew that sleeping among those conch shells and fish all about would have made me feel so comfortable.
But the Saunders family wonders, can the Dolphin House survive Ashley?
I think what's happening with Ash is he's going to write a will, but he wants it to be where it can never be sold.
If it's not written out in a will, people will fight over it. because a lot of people would want to possess a building as such.
I've spoken with him over and over again, and I've asked him to identify at least a few of his relatives who he can sell his dream to, and to be sure to incorporate it in writing that it's not ever to be sold, but it's always to remain here for persons in the community and tourists that visit here to come and enjoy.
He has two sons, and one of them is mostly into it more than the other one. He would be able to handle the museum and continue to keep it running. It will continue to be a museum. He would be able to do it.
But I'm sure that the person that takes it over has to have the same passion that he does to keep it well preserved and protected.
Even foreigners and relatives and loved ones and maybe even the government will try to possess ownership of the Dolphin House.
And Ashley can likely rely on the support of the Bahamian authorities.
If the time ever came for us to step in and assist him, I'm quite sure we'll be happy to do that, because we feel as though that is one of the main attractions, and it's our job to make sure that our product is always in top shape and that we have something beautiful and wonderful to show the visitors that come here.
In his 70s, Ashley has still not said his last word. The Dolphin House will be a work in progress for years to come.
I don't think he'll ever finish making that house. There's no end to that. Because as he go on, he just keep finding it. The more that he finds, the more that he adds. So his art is not, it doesn't stop. His art can't stop. His imagination is not stopping. He continue. I think it's till his end. He'll continue that Dolphin House.
You know, I feel like I got my work to do. I have to build because I'm a builder. I have to write because I'm a writer. The one thing I like about myself is that if I start a project, I usually finish it. My ideas don't stay ideas. I say I'm going to write a book, I wrote it. I built a Dolphin House, I built it. And that has been the most positive thing about myself that I love mostly about me. I see the project to completion.